Hello and welcome to Crypto Weeklies. In this video, we analyze Bitcoin. None of the content is financial advice. Right now, the price of BTC is below $90,000. Again, it has come off quite a bit again from the monthly highs that Bitcoin put in October 2025. These are the momentum candles. If you switch to regular candles, you would know that even October and November and December, three of the months in consecutively were bearish, although October had the all-time high sometime in October at around 126k. Now the price is at around 90k, so almost 35,000 lower than the previous all-time high. The area of support for Bitcoin, if you were to analyze in terms of where the weekly support for Bitcoin could go, uh, with respect to this floor over here, which Bitcoin kind of held as support in the February till about April drop of 2025. In 1 year later, in February to April 2026, this area of support, if Bitcoin were to bounce from that area of support, that would signal a great relief, at least in the short term, for again and potentially some fuel to go back to the 20-week simple moving average, or also the 50-week simple moving average, which both are at around close enough to about $400 to $500 difference between $100,600 and $101,230. So that between 100,000 and 101,000, that's if you were to kind of zoom out and look at Bitcoin in terms of rally potential and also some of the floor based setup. Again, the floor, the major first floor is at slightly under 80k, whereas the peak is somewhere between 100 and 101k. So that's in the short term the technical analysis, whereas the price in the longer term, if 2026 were to pan out as a bear market, could go to these levels where this blue line could turn white, where the price action goes below the 200-week simple moving average and also the 300-week simple moving average, like it did back in October 2022. Again, there are no guarantees that the price has to go at those levels, but again, historically speaking, whenever the bear market kind of arrived for Bitcoin since 2015, the track record of Bitcoin is again uh, going below in the depths of the bear market than the 200-week. Similarly, again, close enough to 200-week in 2018, below in 2020. That critical drop in March, April 2020. Then again, um, in 2022 bear market, again falling below the 200-week for a prolonged period of time between June 2022 till February 2023. That was like a golden time to accumulate Bitcoin. Similarly, another accumulation phase arose in between August to October 2023, and now again 2026. If the rally were to kind of subside and there aren't any new all-time highs in 2026, again there are very less evidence that there is a new all-time high related structure forming for Bitcoin at this moment. So if we go by the historical 4-year market cycle theory, where the bottom occurs in 2018, 2022, and now in 2026, then the price could go sub 200-week simple moving average. Right now, if we extrapolate the 200-week simple moving average towards middle of summer of 2026, that level for 200-week simple moving average should be somewhere between 60 and 63k. And high, again, if we try to be more optimistic, it could go as high as about 64k. Whereas the 300-week simple moving average is right now at 50k. It could be at around somewhere between 53 and 55k in mid to late 2026. So that's those are the critical levels in terms of the DCA related buy zones per the key moving averages. Whereas the time weighted average price based accumulation, again, if you were to look at that kind of a scenario, where again right now the time weighted average price is only at around $27,000, but again the price does not go and below the time weighted average price, has not went below the time weighted average price since October 2015. So again, not expecting that kind of a drop, but uh, eventually again during the macro bottom, the price goes somewhere between 15 to 20% higher than the time weighted average price. So if we extrapolate the time weighted average price, and let's say this has a more rising function kind of a behavior, and if the time weighted average price during the major drop for Bitcoin is closer to 35k, a 10 to 20%, 20% on that would be at around 42k. That's 20% higher than the $35,000 time weighted average price. So that could be one area for Bitcoin to look for in terms of the valuation. So um, just to summarize, 60k is the 200-week simple moving average based bottom. 50k is 300-week, roughly speaking, 300 weeks based bottom, and 42k is the time weighted average price based bottom. So these are the three different bottoming trajectories for Bitcoin. Again, if we were to look at exclusively based on all of these risk based metric, again the 46k is the base bear case forecasted by this by our own model, again using regression risk, time weighted average price risk, and SMA risk. The panic case for Bitcoin, if there is a panic in the wider market, is at around 40k, and if there is a macro recession, it wouldn't be too surprising to see Bitcoin at around prices at around between 32 to 35k. That would be again 65, roughly speaking, 65% drawdown from the current price. Again, if the wider if the wider market in the recession drops between, again, if we take a midpoint between 20% and 50% at around 35%, that is an average drop in um, recessionary period for macro indicators such as S&P 500. So again, if S&P were to drop by 35%, it wouldn't be too outlandish to imagine in that environment Bitcoin to drop somewhere between 60-65%. With that, I would like to conclude by saying the first, again, without much evidence, it's not a good idea to harp on the recession idea, but nonetheless, with some historical evidence for Bitcoin, again, not financial advice, the first major drop at around 60k. The second, again, if 300k breaks at around 50k, and the panic case at around 42k. With that, I would like to conclude. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please give a like and subscribe, and hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.